Hey everyone, welcome to the Sporting Nation World Cup preview show. Happy World Cup Eve. The time we have waited for these last 4 years is finally here. Thank you for joining us tonight. We could think of no better way to start our World Cup preview show than with our guest tonight. But before I do that, let me bring in my editor and co-host, Jose Romero. Hey, Jose.
Hi, Sonny. Glad to be back. How are you?
I'm doing good. I guess I should introduce myself, huh? I am Sunny Cadwallader, Sporting Nation social media coordinator. Sporting Nation is a digital focused company bringing current news to the U.S.-based bicultural Latino fan. What's been going on, Jose? How are you?
Doing good. Pretty excited, obviously, for the World Cup. Wish I could be there, obviously, but life had other plans in store. That's the way it goes. But it's shaping up to be really, really exciting, obviously, and watching a lot of soccer over here, watching a ton of baseball. You know, doing what I always do, just trying to follow as many sports as I can and enjoy life.
Well, I am definitely looking forward to all of the social media posts and tweets and everything that's going to happen surrounding the World Cup. We've posted some stuff on our Twitter account, giving you some Twitter lists and Twitter links and Facebook posts as well. So I'm ready. I'm ready to go. So let's just jump right in, Jose. I'm going to toss it to you, and you can bring in our guest.
I will. Adam. If I point to my left, that's you over there on my little window here, so that's what I'm doing. Adam, it's good to see you, my friend. Adam Serrano and I go back for, I'm going to say, what, '09 at the MLS Cup?
'09, yeah, right before then.
He was, Adam came to the MLS Cup. I think, I met him. I met you like on email or online. I saw that you were doing stuff online, and I think you reached out to me with a question or something, or maybe just to say hi, and you show up in Seattle. We're at the MLS Cup, and all of a sudden, from there, man, your career just took off. I couldn't be happier for you. Obviously, you and I, we hung out at the next MLS Cup too in Toronto. So we're veterans, you and me now. You didn't used to be a veteran, but now you are a seasoned vet. So it is very much an honor to have you on our program here. And I'm really proud of the work you've done. You've done fantastic. You're in LA. You've established yourself. You're one of the greats, man. So you earned it, and that's enough of me saying so many good things. My point is, I'm glad to have you. My first question to you is, why is Landon Donovan not on the U.S. national team?
Well, Jose, thank you so much for all that positive stuff that you said about me. I really appreciate it, and I've always admired you. And you're one of the reasons I got into this business, so thank you very much for that. Wow. Going on to your question, why is Landon Donovan on this World Cup? I think this all stems down to kind of a personality issue. You see him, he's kind of a pragmatic man, and that really doesn't seem to fit into the harsh realism that you get from a guy like Jurgen Klinsmann. So I really think that, some of the things that Landon Donovan has said over the last few months and years really kind of conflict with the kind of mentality that Klinsmann tries to have. And it's, he wants all his guys to be for him and to have that kind of all out, all the time mentality. And Landon said, you know what, I can't really do that. I'm getting older now. I'm a different person. I can't always be that kind of guy. But when push comes to shove, I'm always going to try, and I'm always going to do my best, and I'm always going to deliver. So I think it's a little bit of a conflict there, and there's obviously something going on there behind the scenes that, I think that even though there might have been a little bit of a schism between Landon and Jurgen, I think Landon was genuinely shocked that he wasn't on this team, and he felt that he deserved to be there, he deserved to be starting, he deserved to be right at the forefront. But you know what, he's not, and he's going to have to watch from the sidelines in an ESPN studio somewhere. So it's going to be a tough one. It's a shock. It's still something that I'm still kind of processing. I think when Monday rolls around, that first ball is kicked against Ghana, it's finally all going to sink in that Landon Donovan is not on that USA team, that another player's wearing the number 10.
He's, you're with the Galaxy day in and day out. He's on the Galaxy. I'm sure you guys talk, but what's it like just, with him when he came back to the Galaxy after that camp, when you were told that he was told that he was released, and was that just kind of a weird feeling, a weird vibe around him, and then now has it taken him some time to get past that and get right back into the swing of the season?
Yeah, I mean, he was shocked. I mean, I think he was shocked like we were all shocked. I mean, it became real national news that Landon Donovan wasn't on the U.S. soccer team. It was something that you had heard everyone talking about in every kind of media outlet that there was. So, yeah, he was shocked, he was stunned, and I think he was, like anyone, he was very depressed. And you had some people saying, he was a U.S. reject, and I'm sure that he felt that very deeply because, this is a guy who has given his life pretty much to U.S. soccer and to growing the game in this country, and he's given us so many of our iconic moments, whether it was in the 2002 World Cup in South Korea, Japan, or if it was 2010 and his iconic goal against Algeria. So he's done so much for U.S. soccer, and I think that what? He felt stunned. I think he was a little numb. He came back, scored those two goals to give himself the all-time MLS goal-scoring lead, which I'm sure helped him kind of get over this. But you know what? I think the sting is still there, and I'm sure when the U.S. plays, he's going to feel it because he knows that he can contribute. And I mean, let's be honest, Jose. If they can't score, if they don't contribute, if they don't kind of proceed in that group, we're all going to wonder, hey, how would you have done if you had Landon Donovan there? And it's going to be an issue. It's going to keep coming up. It's going to be something that this team is going to keep hearing unless they produce on the field there in Brazil.
Yeah, and is Klinsmann on the hot seat if he doesn't get out of the group? I mean, I guess maybe if he loses 3 times for sure, but if he somehow doesn't make it out of that group, is his job maybe in jeopardy?
You know what? It's really tough to see because they just gave him a contract extension before they learned who they play in the draw. So it's really tough, but I mean, I think that U.S. soccer has kind of given him the keys to the Ferrari, and they want to see how far he drives this thing. He's already done so much for player development, bringing in guys like Julian Green, who, yeah, we've kind of criticized lately in light of this Landon thing, but it was a big coup at the time, and it's big now that we got a guy who Germany was after. And I think he's still out there because his name carries a lot of weight globally in the global soccer community. So I think that, if it ends really poorly and it happens more like a 1998 kind of deal where the U.S. finishes last and it all comes to tatters and they come back really defeated with their tail between their legs, yeah, he's going to be in the hot seat. But you know what? I really can't see him not coaching this team after the World Cup. I think it's going to happen. I think he'll lead them in Russia in 4 years' time.
Adam, you and I, in our conversations, our interactions are a lot based on us being Latino and in our heritage, our shared cultural background. So with this next question, I need you to bear with me, see if you can kind of see where I'm going here. I felt that Jurgen, back in the day when he first started, he made some kind of statement, I thought, that said, I want to reach out to the Latino players. I want to reach out to more Hispanics and get guys off the pickup fields in places and bring them in and make them a part of the national team process, the academies, the selection, etc. And that really hasn't come to pass with him since to this point. He looks like he's gone across the ocean to get a lot of his players in Europe.
Yeah, I think he did say those things, and I remember when he said those things, he said, America's a vast land, and there's always going to be other people, other places that you can grab talent, and that talent is still out there. It's still something that we see today on our fields in LA or in Phoenix or wherever you happen to be. So it's out there, but I think this time around, I can't really fault him because you look at the players that he was looking at. He brought in guys like Hercules Gomez, Edgar Castillo, Joe Benny Corona, Michael brought those guys in and really tried to integrate them, but I just don't feel like those guys are truly up to snuff. And I mean, there could be more said that maybe he should have been a little bit harder pressing, getting guys like, Miguel Angel Ponce, who's playing for Mexico, Ezek Bruzuela, who plays for Mexico as well, from Sacramento. Both those guys, known California guys who are going to suit up for L3. So I think that's a loss. Maybe the U.S. pushes a little bit harder. You get that kind of attacking talent that we don't really have in this country. But I think that where you start to see that vision is at the lower levels. And you look down at the U20 level, the U17 level, even the U15 level, and you're starting to see more Latino names, the Villarreals, you're seeing the Floreses, you're seeing those kind of names come through, and you're seeing a more attacking style. It's more, Latino, it's more something you see out on the fields wherever you go in LA. So I think that vision is still there. I just think that right now there wasn't the kind of personnel to kind of fit it into this World Cup. I think that you look at a guy like Joe Benny Corona, who was right there on the cusp, and I think that, if there was an injury in the midfield, he'd probably be the first one that Jurgen would go to kind of add that little bit of spice, you could say, into the squad. But I think that vision is more of a long-term one. I think that we're going to start to see as we get closer to 18 as opposed to 14, but I think it's still in the works. And I think that for Jurgen's sake, if Jurgen wants to develop a true national team that has the national identity, like he always says and always harks on, he needs to integrate Latino players because it's just central to what we have here in this country.
Hey, Jose, can I piggyback on that real quick? If with that vision that he has for the future, incorporating more of the Latino players, not necessarily this go around, but in the next 4 years, even if the U.S. does finish last, you said he just signed a contract, does that give him a little bit of grace period in this World Cup, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to get rid of him just from a pure monetary standpoint, because if you fire him after this tournament, even if you do finish last, there's going to be a lot of money going in the direction the U.S. Soccer doesn't want it to go, and that's towards a fired coach. So you're kind of doubling down before you even knew the landscape. So I think that maybe U.S. Soccer was a little bit premature there, because they named him not only coach for the next 4 years going into 2018, but they also named him technical director. So he's in charge of every little detail down the lines from the national team to the U15. So that's a big commitment. And I think that even if they were to finish last, I think they'd be very hard pressed to fire him. I think the public outcry would have to be a big deal. I think you'd have to see ESPN kind of calling for his name, people turning on Jurgen saying that, he's not the right man to lead it. And then, who knows who they'd bring up, because I really just don't see a domestic coach really who could lead this team and have that kind of grand vision that's any different than what Jurgen's been doing. So I think grace period is a pretty fair phrase to use for this, because I just can't see him getting fired, even if the U.S. does do poorly.
Considering, we talked about the outcry with Landon. Considering what we saw, the level of outcry that we saw on social media, how much do you think social media is going to play into how we perceive Klinsmann and Team USA in this Cup?
Oh, it's immense. I think I remember saying this to Jose once back in 2009, that soccer is the sport of social media. This is the sport that young writers like myself can get through and become important, and it's how we perceive the national team. You think about the national team is probably one of the biggest teams on Twitter, on Facebook, on Google Plus, and it's how fans kind of interact and they kind of perceive the organization. So I think it's going to play a huge role in terms of how those players especially are going to see how they're being perceived back here home in the States. Jurgen has a Twitter account. He's very savvy into that, and I know that people at U.S. Soccer pay attention to kind of the way the trends are flowing and how they see that. So it will certainly play a role. I think it will definitely alter the perception, because if something goes wrong against Ghana, you're going to start to see the boo birds come out on Twitter. It's where they live, and it's going to certainly play a role. So I think that social media is king for soccer, especially in this country, and I think that definitely you'll see it play some sort of role in how this team is perceived, when they're in Brazil and when they get back.
Right. Go ahead, Jose. Sorry.
That's okay. You have a player in LA, in Omar Gonzalez, who is on the national team. He's in Brazil. Talk to me a little bit about Omar. Does he kind of just sort of embody that, U.S. Latino type of personality and spirit, that kind of, a guy that people like you and me could identify with pretty easy?
Yeah, I think that Omar Gonzalez is a great type of, he has all the attributes that you want. He's a Texas-born kid of Latino Mexican-born parents who lived there. His grandfather played for Monterrey in Mexico. He was a captain at one time, so he kind of checks all the boxes. His family even told the story of they told their kids, the Gonzalez, he had 3 siblings. They said, if you want to go to college, you're going to have to play sports. And that's kind of a story you see in all kinds of communities. And I know before I was writing, I was teaching, and I heard parents tell their kids that story. If you want to go to college, we don't have the money. What you need to do is excel at athletics or find something specific that you can do better than anybody else. So I think that he's a great kind of story to tell, that really somebody that all Latinos can kind of rally behind. The only big thing is what's going to happen on the field. He got hurt at really an opportune time. He's had a little bit of up and down form with the U.S. national team. I don't really know if he's going to get a start, especially in this game against Ghana. It looks like Klinsmann's going to go with the back four, using Jeff Cameron and Matt Beasler as the two center backs. So it looks like that Omar rather is going to have to jump them in some way. I don't know if he can do it, especially in light of a performance against Nigeria that wasn't all that great. But Jurgen's always said that there's opportunities in training, and he's never set on 11 guys. So Omar could find a way to leapfrog into that position, or maybe he uses him positionally against a big opponent, maybe against Germany, against Miroslav Klose, or going up against Portugal. So you never know. But I think that he is definitely someone I want to see Latinos get around, because he's a very likable guy, very charismatic, and he has all those attributes that you want to see from a young Latino player who's kind of growing up and becoming one of the top guys in his sport.
Two-part question: who do you like to advance further, Mexico or U.S., and then who do you like to win the whole thing?
You know what? The first one's a tough one, because you got half of me is like is all splitting because of Mapale in the frente, and all that stuff. So, you know what? I really think that both teams are going to end up in the same place. I think that they both end up going out in the round of 16. I think that Mexico, they're in a tough group. Brazil, Croatia, Cameroon, those are teams you can't sleep on, especially Brazil, seeing they're the host nation. I think they get through, but then in their next matchup, they're probably playing against Spain, so that's not a game you want to see Mexico play against. It's probably not one they can get by. And then with the U.S., I really like their chances. I think that even without Landon Donovan, I think that Klinsmann has a vision. He has a group of players that he has that could see their way through. I think they can beat Ghana, find a way in the jungle to get past Portugal, which would be fantastic, and then Germany is going to be a little bit of a tough sled, but they could already be through at the time, so maybe U.S. gets a draw, and maybe they go through. But then in their next game, they'd probably go up against Belgium, who's one of the dark horses of this tournament, with a great European-based talent. So I think they probably end up going out in that round. So I think they're both going to end up in the same way. But in terms of winning the tournament, you know what? I consider myself kind of a sentimental guy, but I also think I'm a little bit of a contrarian. So I'm going to say I really like Uruguay.
Nice.
And I like Uruguay because I would love to see Maracanazo Part 2, where they play Brazil in the final in the Maracanã, and Luis Suarez plays the role of Giorgio Cagilia, beats Brazil 2-1. I think it'd be fantastic. I love Uruguay's team. They have so many great players. Whether you have Cavani, Suarez, Diego Forlan is still on his last legs, but he's still fantastic. And I think that they're going to win that group where they have Italy, England, and Costa Rica. I think they'll go in, beat some big teams, and they're going to knock off Brazil.
Well, I'll tell you what. Since you went on the record, I'll go on the record. I like Argentina to win it all, but there's a side of me that thinks Belgium is going to make a long run. I don't know why Belgium. They're young. They got that Vincent Kompany, who's just a huge presence back there. They've got Hazard. I don't even know how to say his name right. But they just look like they're going to make a run. I think that people are sleeping on them a little bit. But, hey, the next time I see you is going to be here, right, in Phoenix next week from tonight?
Yeah, a week from tonight. U.S. Open Cup, LA Galaxy versus Arizona United SC. I know the Galaxy really want to win this tournament, so it's going to be, I think it's going to bring a really strong team, so it'll be a good game.
The Galaxy didn't really take this tournament too seriously in years past, have they? I mean, is this kind of a change in philosophy?
I think so. I think what it stems down to is the loss of the CONCACAF Champions League. And the CONCACAF Champions League was something that was really important, not just with Bruce Arena, but with the entire club. And club president Chris Klein would always hamper on the fact that the CONCACAF Champions League was a tournament that this team wants to win because they want to be so big in the region. And if you look at it, U.S. Open Cup is kind of your quote-unquote easiest way into the CONCACAF Champions League. You only have a few games. The opponents are not as good. Some teams don't take it as seriously, which is something the Galaxy have been accused of in the past, and it's hard to see that they haven't. They've lost 2 straight years to the Carolina Railhawks, which is not good on the old resume. But I think that they really want to win this tournament. I think that even guys like Landon Donovan, I'd expect him maybe to play in this game in Arizona to kind of build this team's credit and go forward into the 5th round maybe, and win some silverware. It's something the Galaxy haven't been able to do over the last year, and I think it's starting to wear on them. I think if they make a deep run in the U.S. Open Cup, it'll only help the team for when they go into the playoffs and maybe push for MLS Cup.
Very good. Sonny, you have anything?
No, did you have any thoughts with L3? I mean, I know you said you didn't see them getting out of the group, but Jose and I were talking just a little bit before you joined us in the green room. Montez just went out with, that was a brutal injury to watch if any of you weren't watching, but do they have a group that at least can challenge in the group that they're in?
Oh, definitely. I do think they can get out of the group. I think they finished second. I think Brazil's just too tough. There's no way they're going to finish ahead of them. But you know what? With Herrera, he has his guys, and I think that they have a set group, and I think that team unity is very helpful when you have a team like this. I mean, they got guys like Massa, they have guys like Aguilar, and Rafa Marquez is really remade his career since going back to Mexico. We all thought it was over, and then all of a sudden, he's winning titles with Leon. He's becoming the captain again. He's going to Brazil. I mean, if you asked me last year if Landon Donovan or Rafa Marquez is going to the World Cup, I'm picking Landon Donovan. Now all of a sudden, Rafa Marquez is going. So I think that they have a good group. It's it's controversial. You leave guys like Chicharito on the bench, but with a guy like Peralta, I think he wants that big target guy to go in there. Gio is Gio, and Gio's always going to work. He's going to find space. He's going to make the nice pass. So I think that they have a group that can certainly compete. I think one guy I want to watch this tournament is Hector Herrera. I'm a big fan of him, especially during the Olympic run. I think that he made a big when he moved to Europe, and it really helped boost kind of that experience that he has, and I think this is a big stage for him. So I think that he could be one of those breakout stars that kind of helps Mexico move forward. And you know what? Once you get out of the group stage, you've already beaten top teams. And even if you're playing Spain, you have a chance. Even if you're playing Belgium near the U.S., you have a chance. You have a chance to go forward. So Mexico, U.S., I think the sky's the limit. If they can get out of their groups, they can go as far as they can possibly go.
Well, thank you for joining us, Adam, and joining our World Cup preview show. Why don't you let everybody know how they can connect up with you in social media, website, whatever, wherever.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for thinking of me for this. You guys can all catch me at LA Galaxy Insider on Twitter and on Instagram, and also you can go to my website, which is www.lagalaxy.com/insider for all my writings on the team. I'm covering the World Cup from Los Angeles. I'm going to provide, kind of a local feel. And I mean, Los Angeles is one of the most cosmopolitan global cities in the world, so I'm going to be going to different places around, watch some games with some people who are cheering on their teams. It'll be great. Hope you join me for the ride.
You doing any LA Kings coverage tonight?
I mean, I will be watching the game. I got to watch LA Galaxy 2 play the Rochester Rhinos tonight in USL Pro action. So I'm gonna have one eye on the TV watching things. I'm kind of hoping they actually lose to the Rangers tonight, because I want them to win down here in LA. Because whenever an LA team wins a title, things get a little bit crazy, and that's always fun.
Well, thanks again for joining us. Jose, why don't you let everybody know where they can connect up with you?
Hey, absolutely. What is my Twitter? Romero Jose M is my Twitter handle. We're at Sporting Nation 1 on Twitter. My Instagram, I think it's the same.
Oh, you're on it. See, I didn't even know you were on Instagram. Dang.
But Adam's Instagrams are so much better than mine, so I always like all of his because his are just cool. But oh yeah, and we busted out our brand new Sporting Nation T-shirts tonight, Adam. So here's a look. Yeah, buddy. And So yeah, we broke those out today. Those made a debut, so we're pretty proud of that. And moving on, man. We'll see you next week. Have a safe trip out here.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And thanks everyone for joining us tonight. Enjoy the World Cup. We will be tweeting what we can. Jose is writing all over the place about the cup. Find me at CadChica on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to check out our website at www.thesportingnation.com. And everybody, enjoy some futbol. Gracias.